Well, here we are back on the ranch, so to speak. These are the way that we left things with assignment number 12, with the coloration set up the way that it was. What I'm going to do now is you can see up here that this is saved as assignment number 12. I'm going to do File, and I'm going to save this as assignment number 13 because I want this to be a different assignment and I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize assignment number 12. And so assignment number 12 will still continue to exist, but this will now become the basis for assignment number 13. As you can see, it's now changed. So I now have two duplicate copies, one being assignment number 12 and the new one going to be assignment number 13, the one to which I'm going to make all of my changes. Now the one thing that I didn't instruct you to do in the instructions for 13, which is sometimes a good idea, is to add a black background layer. Now I'm going to shut off all of my existing layers here so that I can show you when I put a whole black layer over the top. And the reason for that is that you can do things like go back in and check and see whether or not your border is the proper size to cover up the edges of your piece when you're done. And this border was set to 12 points, a stroke of 12 points. We'll get to that here in a minute. So we're going to probably, more than likely, I'm going to shut off the black background again. We have all of these layers that comprise the sun and the sky. And we're probably going to get rid of those because what we want to do is we want to bring in a new sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close all of these off. They're all locked up, so we're not going to be working on them anyway. And I'm going to create a new layer down here. And I'm going to show you a little secret. I'm going to bring in an image that I did from before in Photoshop called Sci-Fi Sky. And what we're going to do with that is as follows. So we're going to do File, and we're going to do Place. And it's out on my desktop here on my computer at home. Where is it? There it is. And we're going to bring it in. Okay, you can see it moving around the screen here. I know that it's the same size. It's 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to open that up, and there you can see that. And I'm going to try to position it in such a way where the horizon for this piece coincides with the horizon here, so that I don't have to do an awful lot of extra work. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to size this piece so that it fits inside of the frame itself, so I don't have to get rid of any of the image. Now, in order to do that, of course, I need to turn on my border that I created from before, and you can see that it looks like it's covering up pretty much all of the edges of it. Okay, now the problem being, when you bring in an image from Photoshop, of course, we know that it's what? It's rasterized. And you have to be really careful about combined Illustrator files. If you bring in a rasterized image and then you're going to be sharing it with somebody else at a later date, there's a good possibility when they go to open up that Illustrator file, they're not going to be able to find this Photoshop file unless it's combined together and placed in a zip file so that Illustrator knows where that file is and knows what to place it as, because this is a raster image. It's not an object. It's not a vector image. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that layer that is composed of a raster image and we're going to convert it. I think I showed you this or talked about this before. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to a window and come down here, and we're going to do an image trace. What's that going to do? That's going to convert that image here into, I moved it a little bit, I didn't mean to do that. It's going to convert that into a series of objects. Now I'm going to do this as a high fidelity photo, and it's going to take a little while because I want this image to come out looking almost like it does now. Okay, and you can see this is going to require couple minutes of processing time here. My screen goes black. It's like, oh my God, what's happened? Oh no, it's gone away. Nope, there it is. Okay, so now this has become a Photoshop, or I'm sorry, a Illustrator object now. You can see some coloration. You can see some where the sky was a gradient before. It's no longer a gradient. All of that stuff has been converted to objects. So what I can do now is I can place that on a layer of its own, which is already the sci-fi layer, and I'm going to put that up underneath my horizon layer up here. There we go. Now, of course, the next thing is that all of my other things here are going to need to change. My horizon and all of the subsequent layers that came after that, up to and including the border, are going to want to change. And the reason for it is because the color of these things doesn't work anymore. So we're going to go through and we're going to change all of these colors so that it works with the new image. You see that's poking up down there. I'm going to pull that up inside of there. And of course it takes a little while because it's composed of so many objects. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to change each one of these layers colorations so that it now works with this new background image. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off everything except the horizon layer. And this might shock you a little bit, but what I want to do, I'm going to unlock the horizon layer. Well, it's already unlocked. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to grab that. These are all my points and everything. And I want to change that to probably black. And the reason why I say that's shocking is because it's kind of the direct opposite. When the light goes out of the sky, the things that are furthest away now become black, and the things that are closest to you have a color. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change that to black. There we go. And you can see how it's starting to work already, because the sky itself now is the only thing that has enough light to it, and the various things in the foreground are going to become lighter as they come closer to you. Now this is probably way too bright a purple, so we're going to click on that. Oop, forgot to lock my horizon layer. Bad. Right, so we're going to click on my sci-fi sky, and everything is beginning to light up, and I don't want that, so I'm going to lock that layer. Make sure that I'm only working on the far hills. So I'm going to click on that, unlock it, and see if I can't grab a hold of the points that compose that. I'm going to pause this for just a second. Alright, part of the problem I seem to be having is that the far hills layer here had somehow gotten itself linked up to a number of other things on paths, in which case it's no longer usable, so I couldn't change the color of it. So what I'm going to do is discard that or just close it off right now. I created a new layer of dark purple here, which I think works equally well with our background. Maybe it needs to be a bit darker yet, so I'm going to take and experiment with that here a little bit. It's currently showing as that color purple. Open that up and bring that down just a little bit darker here. Get that to change. There we go. Get that to change to a slightly darker purple. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of the stroke that I created altogether. Whoop, did that backwards. Rid of the stroke altogether. Alright, let's take a look at that. Yeah, that's starting to work. Alright, so now we're going to come forward into the piece. We're going to change the color of these hills a little bit. So I'm going to take that hill layer there and click on that. Make sure that I close off that. This is the new far hills layer. And the hills layer on this one is this color, so I'm going to unlock that and see if I can't light that up. There we go. Let's see, what do I want to do with that? Click that. Maybe make it slightly darker than it was, but not too much. That's too much. It's not showing enough differentiation between the layer that's behind it. There we go, that's okay. I might have gone back to where I was already. Alright, so now we have the near hills. And I'm going to make that lighter yet. So I'm going to lock that layer, unlock this layer, change the layer of the coloration of the light hills. Okay, so I got that lit up, and you can see here it's this color here. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see what happens if I come up here. Okay, and then the last layer, of course, is the foreground, which was black before. And I'm going to make it lighter now. See, that's starting to be kind of funky. It's looking kind of weird. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to lock up the layer that I had before, which was the near hills, and unlock the foreground layer. And I'm going to take and light that up. And I'm going to change that from the pure black that it was. And I'm going to probably go into, let's see, I'm going to something a little more brown, like the hills were, but a little bit darker. Like so. We'll see what that looks like. There we go. And I had a stroke on that, so I'm going to get rid of that stroke, because I don't like that. Oop. There we go. Get rid of that stroke. There we are. And I'm going to turn the border back on. There we go. Not bad. The foreground is up a little too high. It's not working with the border. There we go. So, there we have it. This is how you change your background colors to reflect slightly accentuated or different mood by using a different sky altogether than the one that we had before. So that's a way that you can adjust things. I hope this helps a little bit so that you can see how you can simply go through and change things kind of on the fly. Anyway, all for now.